Jeff. Today's launch of the Palliative Care Atlas for Ontario, in doing this, Pallium is taking an important step in advancing quality end-of-life care for Canadians. Cardus counts it a privilege to partner with Pallium on this project. We're excited not only for the pilot that's being introduced today, but also for the data on the 6 Ontario health regions, as well as for British Columbia and Alberta, which will follow shortly. In the inaugural Cardus report on this subject, Death is Natural, we highlighted an important fact, and I quote, "Cross-partisan support for making palliative care a top priority in the restructuring of the healthcare system is decades old, going back at least to a 1995 Senate committee recommendation to make it a priority," end quote. It took more than 20 years for the federal government to implement a framework on palliative care in Canada. The Ontario government has passed the Compassionate Care Act in 2020 and its own palliative care framework in 2021. And we welcome these measures, of course, but they're not enough. As the data released today makes clear to all of us, Canada is well behind and is playing catch-up to other jurisdictions in integrating palliative care into healthcare, especially in the delivery of long-term care. As a nonpartisan think tank working on this issue, Cardus can affirm that the available data from the Canadian Institute for Health Information is valuable, but even so, the Institute itself acknowledges significant gaps in this data. And so the Pallium Atlas project is critically necessary. It will give us an in-depth view of palliative care in Canada, which will enable evidence-based policy making on this important topic. Support for Atlas Research Project is support for better palliative care and better policy in Canada. I'd also emphasize that palliative care is not just a matter for government and healthcare providers. It is that, to be sure. However, palliative care needs to go beyond the healthcare system and paid professionals, integrating the involvement of families and loved ones in care delivery. Better palliative care is holistic palliative care. It recognizes that the end of life involves much more than dealing with physical and biological concerns. It involves social, emotional, and spiritual issues. Preparation for the end of life is part of a well-lived life. Although government has a role, we must deliberately create space for individual Canadians, their natural caregivers, and the many civil society institutions that are well-equipped to help. And so this atlas and the publicly accessible data that it will provide is an important feature of this project. We cannot think of palliative care delivery as a series of mutually exclusive options. Rather, we need to view it as a seamless continuum of care throughout the full spectrum of end-of-life supports and settings as our fellow Canadians and their loved ones travel the journey to the end of their natural lives. With all that said, it's important to emphasize here that government does have a leadership role. In fact, Ontario's government must explore best practice models that integrate palliative care training and education for interdisciplinary teams and other healthcare professionals as outlined in the framework that it adopted in 2021. And so we hope that this atlas helps inform the Ontario's government's activities, policies, and boost its efforts to ensure that every Ontarian who needs palliative care, whether they're in their own residence, in a hospital, a long-term care setting, a retirement home, a hospice, or other community settings, has better access to high-quality services, including in the final stages of their lives.